Welcome to the Living Unoffended podcast with your host, Brant Hansen.
Welcome, you friend, you. I'm so glad you're listening. I am Brant. This is Living Unoffended, episode 21, I think. And by the way, thank you to our sponsors, United Faith Mortgage. They're awesome. I want to thank you for listening to, and I know I've said this before, but trying to put some words around this, it makes me so happy. And it's not like it's because you're listening to my thing that I'm happy about this. Honestly, it's like you're listening to this thing. That's what makes me happy. Like genuinely feeling like I have brothers and sisters in this who are listening, and we're in on this conspiracy that's unfortunately kind of a niche thing, and it shouldn't be a niche thing, but here we are. And I'm just glad to be in this foxhole with you, making this thing happen. And speaking of military stuff, I got this note. This is a great email, and I wanted to read this in its entirety to you from Chad. So this would be a good chunk of the podcast, but it's so good. It said, "Hey, Brant, I've been listening to your Living Unoffended podcast." Hey, Chad. "And I felt led to share this story with you. Many years ago, I was deployed to Afghanistan as a Marine. One of my core personal values was love. Having this value was an issue for me because I struggled with the many love your enemy passages in the Bible, like in Job and Proverbs. He lists all these: Matthew, Luke, Romans, 1 Peter. I wasn't sure how I could possibly love an enemy that was regularly ambushing us while we were looking for the IEDs that they had placed, which killed and maimed people indiscriminately. As a bomb technician, I also knew the enemy was specifically making IEDs that were designed to target and kill me and my teammate. I finally came to terms with the knowledge that love was the act of willing the good of another." That's from Thomas Aquinas. "I could love my enemy without praying that they would be successful." Exactly. Catch that. "I could love my enemy without praying that they'd be successful. I could will for their good, but not for their success in harming me and others. There were even times in the middle of intense firefights that I had the presence of mind in between bursts of fire to pray that the enemy would lay down their weapons, walk away, and come to know Jesus, and that we, in turn, could leave the country better than when we came. I wish I could always claim I did this when face to face with the enemy, but sadly, he says, this was not always the case. I had a few friends when I was in Afghanistan. We lived in a tent with some Marine reservists from Pennsylvania. They worked in small teams training the Afghanistan National Police. One of those Marines, Lance Corporal Howard, could best be described as a Labrador retriever. This was a guy who would come off a long foot patrol in 110-degree heat and was just happy to see you. He had strong faith and strong love for those around him. Then one day, a few weeks before he was supposed to go home, Lance Corporal Howard was killed in an ambush. Our team was called to conduct the investigation, and it was clear that this was a well-planned, close-in ambush, and it was clear that the local civilians had chosen not to warn the patrol about what they were walking into. During our investigation, we even found a new IED placed in the road for anyone who came to investigate the scene. After we'd finished, I used the explosives from that IED to blow up a footbridge the locals had built to cross a deep canal. I was angry that the civilians in that area had not told the patrol about the ambush, and I felt they didn't deserve to have a footbridge to use to safely cross the canal. In my anger, I had decided it was righteous to mete out my own justice. That anger continued for months afterwards. I've reflected on that incident for years now, and last week I was teaching a group of young Marines about spiritual fitness. We were talking about personal values, morals, and beliefs, and I told them this story. When I asked them the question of what had happened to my personal values at that moment when I chose to blow up the footbridge, a young Marine raised his hand and gave a profound response. He said that I allowed my love for one to turn into the hate of others. He was right. I know that this happens every day in marriages, parenting, war, and church. We can allow our love for something to turn into hate for anything that tries or does take that something away from us. And worse still, some of us chose to hate God for taking those things that we love away. As I further reflected on this, I realized that this applies to any deep value we have. Most of the times that I've gotten really angry about something has been one of my personal values has been violated, and I let something that is normally good carry me into anger, hatred, and sin. There is more to the story, but for now, I'll leave it at that. Thank you for speaking about loving your enemy, releasing anger, and freeing ourselves from the prison of hate. God bless. That is from Chad. That is so true. I was just reading about how like our loves just get out of order, if that makes sense. Like it becomes idolatry. And Lewis wrote about this. C.S. Lewis wrote about how good things, to your point, Chad, good things, when they're out of order, become idols, and idols become deadly. For instance, family or country or patriotism. Like, there's nothing wrong with being happy you're from a particular country. I'm glad when Bolivians celebrate that they're from Bolivia, or people from Mongolia love that from like. There's nothing wrong with that. But at an idolatry level, now we got a problem. Even family's obviously a good thing, but if you make family an idol, well, then you hate someone who threatens that thing, that good thing. Just to your point, just totally agreeing. But there's something about having no other gods before the Lord, having nothing before him, that keeps everything reordered. And when things are reordered, well, that helps with our personalities. It like renovates our personality so that we're able to respond to things in a good way. I saw this too. This is 1 Peter. You mentioned this in your list of scriptures, Chad. It's from 1 Peter. It says, do not repay evil with evil or insult with insult. This is 1 Peter 3:9. Do not repay evil with evil or insult with insult. On the contrary, repay evil with blessing, because to this you were called, so that you may inherit a blessing. Repay evil with blessing. People think, I'll talk about this. People think it's weakness. They think it's like, there are guys that in particular that think that is like a feminine approach to life or something. It's not. It's neither masculine nor feminine. It's above both. Like, that's not a normal way to respond. Again, toddlers can respond with, you hit me, I hit you back. But someone who repays evil with blessing, and that becomes who you are. As always, I have to tell you, it's hard at first. It's always going to be, in fact, it's always going to be hard if you don't change internally. If we don't change internally, all of this is going to be hard. It's very difficult to do the things that Jesus told us to do if we don't change internally. And that's going to come from abiding with him. It's going to come from the stuff we keep talking about, like actually talking to him in life, pursuing truth with him, partnering with him, having a sense of that, like bringing him to mind throughout the day, even if it's just to thank him. But now you're walking with him in life. This is the sort of thing that changes you. And you become a different sort of person internally who can respond to things in a different way. It orders things. And also, to your point, Chad, because you're like, look, you take something that you've got that's good and you make it the ultimate thing, and that can turn into hate because somebody threatens it or you've perceived threat for it. The guy online, he's not coming from a Christian background, but he's got a lot of wisdom on some stuff. He said, it's Gerwinder on Substack. He said, evil rarely sees itself as evil. Isn't that true? Sherry and I joke about this on the radio show. It's like nobody's rubbing their hands together, like Mr. Smithers or whatever his name is from The Simpsons. Like, no, it's like, I am the evil one. Very rarely. People have justified it in their head. The worst stuff, they have justified it. It's a good thing in their head that I'm doing this in the service of whatever cause. I can do whatever. But he says, evil rarely sees itself as evil. It usually sees itself as payback, justice, self-defense. This was the justification for every major atrocity in history. Viewing yourself as a victim is the surest path to becoming a predator, he writes. You can see the context of what he's talking about here. He says, and you can look at this, like it's absolutely true. You look at it historically. We don't have to go to Hitler on every discussion, but that's the whole grounding of his rise to power is grievance. We were victimized. We were victimized by our own leaders. They signed an agreement with, the war shouldn't have been over. And then it was a punitive agreement on the German people. This isn't fair. We need to stand up for ourselves, for justice, for self-defense. This isn't right. The justification for Germany in World War I was self-defense. France, I talk about this forever, but nobody else cares. But France and Russia had an alliance. That's existentially threatening. We have to do something. We are surrounded. What are we supposed to do? It's always justified. It's always justified. The guys who led the revolution in Cambodia, decades later, after murdering a couple million people, were like, hey, don't judge us. What we did in the context of what we're doing, we're actually serving the good. You killed innocent people by the millions. But they always, in their heads, are totally justified. That's exactly right. Evil doesn't see itself as evil. It dresses itself up, which is for us to be able to align our hearts with God and to say, search me and know me. What's my real motivation here? And if you pray for your enemies, that'll do it. That'll do it. If you're consistently praying for your enemies, I don't think that you're going to do evil against them. You're willing the best for them. This is something I hit on recently. We're talking about hypocrisy, and I'll just hit on this again real briefly, but it's you can say everybody's a hypocrite. Some people will say that, well, everybody's a hypocrite at some level. We're all sinners. Well, I don't know, man. If you're somebody, if I could follow you around, I could say, hey, Mary, let me just hang out with you for a few days and see how you handle things. And let's say, or you don't change anything. But if I could see everything, where you give your money, how you talk to God, and then I see you praying for your enemies, and I see you honestly talking to God about your struggles, and I also see you struggling. I also see you sinning, and you talk to the Lord about your struggles, and you're trying to grow and spend time with Him. And I can see, again, your money kind of tells me where your heart is on stuff, and it matches, generally speaking, your verbiage, but the struggle is there. But I don't see that as hypocrisy. And then the praying for your enemies piece in this is a big part of it. If you're not doing that, if I'm not doing that, the whole Christian thing, there's a implicit hypocrisy in taking the name of Jesus. I hope that follows, because it's not a side issue, because it's not one of those things you learn down the line. This is it. This is actually following Him, warts and all, or thorns in our flesh and all. But this is it. So I don't think you have to feel guilty about being a hypocrite all the time. It's Lord, help me with these other areas. But as I struggle in these other areas, and I'm still a sinner and all that sort of stuff, whatever it is you're struggling with, I'm going to continue to pray I'm still going to do this, continue to pray for my enemies. I want to grow up in these other areas contemporaneously. As I'm dealing with this other stuff, I'm going to continue to pray for my boss or that politician or that party or those people. I'm going to continue to pray and will, as Chad quotes Aquinas, will the good for them. And that does make all the difference. So thanks for being on this journey. Again, thanks to our awesome sponsors who help make things happen. I love that this is free, by the way, that we get to do these podcasts. It's just a free thing. And it's awesome to have a sponsor because they help cover our costs for the radio show and all that stuff. But United Faith Mortgage is fantastic. You take out a mortgage with them or you do a refinance, they'll actually give a portion of their money that they would make off it. They actually give it to Cure to help heal kids at the Cure hospitals around the world. I'm very thankful for them. Ryan is the guy I've been using, but it's a whole family operation. They're great to talk to. Barbara or Denise would be the person you talk to first. Ask them about their grandkids. They'll be off to the races. But all you have to do is go to unitedfaithmortgage.com if you want to find out more about them. And I've got a closing coming up in a couple weeks with them. We're excited. Thank you so much.
You've been listening to the Living Unoffended podcast with Brant Hansen. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share. And if you'd like more information on Brant Hansen, his book Unoffendable, and more, go to branthansen.com.